So the whole point of Jilly Juice is to stop looping in your old disempowering belief systems that it's the system that's causing all of your issues. It's the man's fault. It's the woman's fault. It's this race's fault. Here's the thing. The whole point of this pandemic, the whole point of why we are social distancing and why we are being told to stay at home, stop going out there and rioting and protesting, is because maybe it's time for you to exemplify and articulate through words the world you want to live in. Not make assumptions, but to really create the world you want to live in. Okay? So I have a few people on my Facebook that still live in the world of being a victim. Oh, I've experienced somebody doing this to me, so therefore I'm going to project that onto everybody out there. So if you're in law enforcement and you happen to be white, well, I'm going to assume because you took down someone that is not white that they're racist. I mean, this is like so annoying. And I have a lot of people who are still stuck in the past. People who are on the J juice that say they're trying to be more objective. They say they're trying to get to a point of where they're more well balanced, but they still get caught up in the victim mentality. And yeah, this whole thing with what's going on right now out there from Minneapolis is showing the people who say they're on the J juice are not really doing J juice. They're still stuck in their politics of that it's the man's fault, it's the president's fault, it's the system's fault. No, the system does what the system does. They do it based upon what you guys want. You guys want to have racial recognition, well then you're going to have racism. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You want some kind of recognition for your attributes, whether it's Vietnamese American, Vietnamese culture, or black culture, or Hispanic culture, or a woman, or a man, or a gender. If you want to be differentiated by your race, by your skin color, by your belief system, then you're going to get somebody that's going to refer to you, good or bad. And you've created that. And so, when you say it's the system, it keeps victimizing people. No, you victimize yourself. You have the ability to compete. Yes, there are institutions that will have a certain bias. And then that's when you need to promote your own institutions and do what you got to do. And then that creates biases too. And I don't know how to stop it, but there are ways now that you can create your own companies. Like I've created my own company. No, it's not a multi-million-dollar company. If anything, it's less than $1,000 company at this point. But guess what? I'm creating my position because there was nobody out there in the world that I wanted to work for that really understood who I truly was. And I don't care what my perception of I could say they're racist. I could say they don't like Asians. I could say they don't like, who knows? Maybe they don't like my free spiritedness. So guess what? I created my own company. I wrote my own book, articulated my own desires, and then I will use my attributes of my contributions of my mind, body, and spirit to then create the world that I want to live in and offer something to people everybody can use, not just 20% of the population, not just 5% of the population, but I found something that everybody can use. And that is true objectivity when you think about it, when you're not discriminating against anyone or anything. So if you find yourself a victim of racism, you've brought that on yourself. Okay, I'm sorry, but people carry themselves in such a way where they ask to be victimized. And if you don't set your boundaries, if you don't voice in a way your concerns in a constructive way, and then create the world that you want to live in without living from this victim mentality, because I voice my concerns to people. And then I move on to the next thing. It doesn't bug me anymore. I will never, ever go back to an issue that I may have had with somebody or something unless it keeps coming up with that same person. But if there's continuous issues like people don't like Jilly Juice, then I ignore it. I can't change Jeff Holiday. I can't change Pathos or Daily Mail or Newsweek or the Daily Beast or BuzzFeed or Dr. Phil. I can't change their minds about J Juice. And it's not my intention to convert them. If your intention is to get everybody to like you because you think they have an issue with your skin color or something else, then you're barking up the wrong tree. Find the people that accept you. And who cares the ones that don't? See, that's the issue with everyone that wants to convert somebody into their line of thinking, is that they have this thing that they should legislate morals. And to tell that to somebody who is so wrapped up in their own skin color, who's so wrapped up in their own subjectivity, that they have the power to find the right kind of people in their world that accepts them. No, they want to impose their viewpoints. It's like proselytizing your viewpoints. When you're trying to ram your view on somebody else, you're trying to convert them. And people don't like to be converted. They want to have their viewpoint. They want to have their emotions. And they don't want people telling them they should be something different. Hold on. I got my dog in. And so, yeah, I get very annoyed with those that always cry victim. Come on, sugar. Come on. Because if you're on the jelly juice, then being a victim should not even be any part of your personality. Victim mentality and predatory mentality doesn't belong in the jelly juice. So a lot of people on my Facebook who say they're on jelly juice are not really doing it at the level that they should, because they still want to blame Trump. They still want to be subjective and be discriminatory. They still want to fan the flames of controversy out there. They love it. They thrive on it. They get something from it. And they would rather have subjectivity than objectivity. Okay? I mean, I know some of you are not where I'm at yet, and I get that. If you feel you have to respond to my stuff in any way to defend your position or whatever, well, I'm going to see your subjectivity. Unless you absolutely agree with me. But if you don't agree with me, and you have to put something that is going to be very questionable on how I'm going to perceive it, if it's not so black and white where I can see exactly where you're coming from, I'm going to know there is an agenda, there is subjectivity to it, and I'm going to point it out. Some are easier to point out their subjectivity and their discriminatory responses because it's so obvious. Some of you haven't fully figured out your position yet, and you're still speaking through quotes and poems. And I would rather see some of you actually develop your own quote based upon where you are with the jelly juice. I would rather see you do that than to keep parroting a poet, to keep parroting somebody else's quotes that because just like, you're promoting detoxes and antibiotics. That's part of the allopathic world, but they have other things too that could tell you, or that could be something that's positive, that's life-giving. But you found all of the stuff that is imbalanced in the allopathic holistic. Because everything has a place, everything has a place, but it's how much and then on what trajectory. Is it life or death? Trajectory. So there's good and bad in allopathic holistic. Okay, and that's a subjective point of view, good and bad relative to your perception and the outcome that you're looking for. But when somebody is like a poet or somebody is an icon in history, they have good and bad things relative to your perception. I'm not going to say everything that Jesus said was amazing, because Jesus is dead. So obviously something wasn't working in his world where it caused him to die. But, some of your poets have been dead for centuries. You think everything they have to say is credible as far as life-giving and non-discriminatory? I mean, even MLK, he's passed away. Yes, somebody killed him. But there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of propaganda going on in the 1960s. So you think that going out and taking to the streets is the way to go anymore to make a point? California and the West Coast and the East Coast and the whole protest stuff is so archaic. It is so, not evolved. It is so unevolved going out there and taking to the streets. Okay? That is a baser level instinct that Jilly Juice is trying to evolve yourself from. And so this is why I'm writing. I write a book. I take my views on Facebook. I glean out why I do what I do so I understand what drives me. I've stopped taking part in the victim mentality. I'm okay with Jeff Holiday not liking me. I'm okay with Dr. Phil slamming me. I'm okay with those that don't like me. I don't care. I just block, delete, and I move on. It doesn't drive my reality because they don't like me. And that's evolution, is where you don't give a shit if someone doesn't like you or doesn't like, for whatever reason, you can assume to know. But who cares? It's not your place to get everyone to like. It's not your place to get everyone to get off the vaccines. It's not your place to give everybody a vaccine. It's not your place to go and convert people to be all soft-spoken and hoity-toity and don't be a thunder. Sometimes being a thunder makes a freaking point. And sometimes speaking softly also makes a point. And if you're always leading with your wounds, which you're seeing everyone right now that has an issue with somebody else out there, they are so wounded that I don't even think Jilly Juice is helping them because they're not drinking enough. Okay? And that saddens me because they have the power to heal themselves, and yet they see the possibility, but they cannot actually implement that possibility and see it for what it is. That's right, Patricia. You see, yeah. And so, I'm here at home. My husband goes to work, and I write, I think, I evolve. I move forward. When I have a problem with something, I deal with it and I move on. I don't keep revisiting the same problem over and over again. There's no freaking point looping in issues that you can't control. I can't control the people that I used to hang out with as part of my moderators. I can't control who they are. If they show me they want to be something different and part of my world in a way that makes sense, hey, they're welcome back to my world. But if they can't, I'm not going to try to convert them. I don't care if they're in my world. I mean, I would love for them to be in my world because they were great contributors, but we didn't evolve together. But if that's not their choice, if it's not what they want, I'm not going to force them. Not everybody can understand where Jilly Juice is going or want to understand because they're still living in their subjective world. But that's my opinion, my perception. They could very well say, hey, you know what? Who knows? They could just not like me because I'm very harsh. But hell yeah, you got to be harsh sometimes. When you are dealing with people who want to take Jilly Juice in a specific direction that's not going where I'm going to lay down the law. Okay? And it's not always going to be diplomatic. Whatever, okay. I try to be very kind sometimes. I try to be very subservient sometimes. I'll try to be understanding. But, I do get triggered by emotions and people get triggered by my emotions. And then it's a back and forth. I try not to emote too much because that's always, pretty explosive and it does trigger people. But sometimes it does call for it. You can't always be soft spoken. You can't always be subservient. Sometimes you got to stand your ground. Sometimes if someone comes to your house and they want to attack you, you have to shoot them. You don't want to, but you got to do what you have to do to save yourself. If you teach your kids to always be soft-spoken and subservient, guess what? They're going to get walked on all over. Okay? Sometimes it's okay to be, aggressive. But when that's how you live your life is always through aggression and perceiving everyone is racist against you because of the color of your skin, that's how you operate. You don't think of yourself as a whole human being. And that's you can see the victims in our society. You can see the victims in our society because they perceive everyone as they're paranoid. And then they automatically know exactly somebody's intentions because of their job as well as the color of their skin, because that's how they relate to themselves. And it's very sad how many people actually don't think of themselves more than the color of their skin. It really is. It's very sad. But that's the world that we live in. And you recognize that. And if they come unglued on your page, you delete them off the page because you know that you're not dealing with a person who thinks highly of themselves. And if they don't think highly of themselves, they will not think highly of you. And you don't need them in your world. So I'll let people say what they got to say. And then when I see that, you know what, this is going nowhere, bye. But some of you are not, are not going to do the J juice. So you will always come from a victim mentality and then you will rationalize your behavior. And humans are very strategic. They will rationalize everything. And they will justify and rationalize until they pass away. And so You know, just study the people's rationalizations. It's very creative. It's very strategic. It's creative. It's like reading all the conspiracies out there. It's like reading all the tall tales, the stories, the allegories. Those are rationalizations of things that happen in the universe. The Bible is a type of rationalization of what goes on in the world. It's quite interesting. All right, bye.